Flipping in RuneScape can make you billions, so in this guide, I'm going to show you the complete basics of flipping in RuneScape and how you can start to build your bank simply by trading items on the Grand Exchange. Before we hop into our flipping, let me explain what flipping actually is. To put it simply, flipping is the process of buying items at their lowest prices and selling it at their highest prices. This can be done over a daily time frame, a weekly time frame, monthly time frame, or even a yearly time frame if you wanted. We'll unpack this more later, but for now, just remember, buy low, sell high. While you used to be able to flip with absolutely no tools before taxes, now that the Grand Exchange has taxes, you're going to need a few tools to stay on top of the game. Most of these are recommended, but there is one required tool that you're going to need, and that is an item price tracker. These are a various handful of websites, but I prefer using GE Tracker as it allows you to favorite items easily and automatically calculates your tax on the items for you. So if you want a free trial of GE Tracker's premium features, be sure to sign up using my link in the description below to get access to that. As far as recommended tools go, I recommend using Flipping Utilities plugin in RuneLite. It is an amazing plugin for tracking your profits automatically, so install that if you haven't already. Also, if you're completely new to flipping, I'd recommend you also use a pre-built item flipping list from someone who is a little bit more experienced to help you get started. Lucky for you though, I have one that is available in my Discord group, so if you want access to that free item list, you can find it in the link in the description below. That is enough upfront information though, so let's get into the flipping. I recommend learning to flip with at least 10 mil because that's actually going to give you a realistic feel of how flipping works, but it can be done with less. But for the purpose of this guide, I am going to be using 100 mil to showcase a ton of good starter items that you can flip. The first step of flipping, of course, is to identify a profitable item to flip. As you can see, this is how I set my desktop up to flip efficiently. I have my RuneLite in the top left corner, my item list underneath it with some great options that we can research, and GE Tracker on the right hand side to actually look at the item prices and the item graphs. Because this guide is built for beginners, we're going to be focusing on high volume items. High volume items have the lowest profit, but are also the most safe and consistent flips that you can find on the Grand Exchange. So because of that, we'll be going through this high volume list, researching each item, and looking at which ones are going to make us the most money, and flip those on the Grand Exchange. The first item on our flipping list is the Zulrah scales. So I've pulled up the Zulrah scales on GE Tracker, and currently GE Tracker is telling us that if we were to flip these Zulrah scales, we'll be losing about 1 GP each because of tax. Now, I wouldn't worry too much about the current prices that are listed on top here. We're more interested in the daily graph that is available on GE Tracker. What I want to look for in the graph here is the difference between the blue line, which is our buy price, and the orange line, which is our sell price. As you can see, we can comfortably buy Zulrah scales for around 141 each and sell them for around 144 each. You can get these numbers just by looking at where these Zulrah scales have fluctuated over the past hour or so, which you can do by clicking the daily view and just looking at where the item has been trading recently. Using that information, we can comfortably list these Zulrah scales for 141 GP each and look to sell them around 144 GP each, meaning that we're going to make 2 GP for every Zulrah scale that we flip. Because the Grand Exchange limit is 30,000 for Zulrah scales, that means we can flip 30,000 every 4 hours. So because of that, if we make 2 GP per Zulrah scale and we flip 30,000 of them, we will be making 60k on our flip. Now it is time to actually list the flip, so let's go search Zulrah scales on the Grand Exchange. We identified that we could buy them for around 141 GP each, so let's list that and list the entire limit, which is about 30,000 every 4 hours. Now, if you don't have enough money to buy a full limit of an item, that is totally okay. Just buy as many as you can comfortably and still save some money to flip other items in the meantime. You can always go back and flip more of the item if you cannot afford the full limit. Now that we have the first item listed, I'm going to take a look at another item, list that, and then list our Grand Exchange with a bunch of offers and talk more about how we can manage our trades. Another great high volume item is the blood runes, and currently looking at the blood runes right now, I think we should be able to buy them around 210 GP with hopes of selling them for around 214 GP. That'll make us a nice margin in between, and we'll actually make a good amount of money on this because the limit is 25k every 4 hours. So I'm going to list that on the Grand Exchange here and see if we can make any money from it. Now, I'm going to follow my flipping list as well as the graphs on GE Tracker to list 8 items across the Grand Exchange and spread my money out comfortably so that way I can hit some flips. We have all of our high volume flips listed. What I'm going to do in the meantime while I wait is just monitor the prices over on GE Tracker and make sure that all of our flips are going to move in a reasonable time frame. Now, because these are high volume items, the price will fluctuate very tightly, but it will fluctuate a little bit. So if you're not right on margin, that is okay. The item is most likely going to fill out over the next couple of minutes. I'm going to let these flips sit for about 5 or 6 minutes and then adjust my flips that are not working well and move the prices up on them as long as they're still profitable. It has been a couple of minutes and the only item to completely buy out is the blood runes, so what we're going to do is adjust the offers that haven't moved at all and maybe move a couple of the offers that haven't moved in a little bit, such as the rune darts and the green dragon leather. But I think these overscales will continue to flip because it is such a high volume item that it is likely to move in our direction as long as we give it a little bit more time. As far as the blood runes go though, we're going to sell these back for the original 214 GP that we saw originally on the GE Tracker graph. That should sell without too much of a problem. And there we go, with a little bit of adjustment, items have started to move around relatively fast. We've got all of our amethyst arrows in, and we have started to sell some of the blood runes as well, so a lot of good profit all around, and I will keep you guys updated on how it's looking. A pro tip here is if an item is no longer buying for your buy price, feel free to just cancel the offer and sell the current quantity that you have. So for the green dragon leather, I think we should be able to sell them for 1,505 each, and I will check on GE Tracker just to make sure that is still the case. But anyway, don't be afraid to just sell back the quantity you have. You could always rebuy more once it sells. And our first flip is complete. The blood runes have finished, so let's go collect our profit there and see how much we've actually made. After selling off the blood runes, it looks like we made a total of 50k on the flip, which is really not too bad. Now, while the margin was only 2 GP each, which is quite small, keep in mind that we flipped 25,000 of them. So because of the volume on that item, we were still able to make a decent profit there of 50k. The key of learning how to flip when you are a beginner is to just flip a bunch of items, and I recommend starting with high volume items just because they're super consistent to flip and they're very easy to profit on, even if it's not making you a lot of profit in the beginning. Another very important thing to remember while you are flipping, especially with high volume, is to make sure you're flipping in every single item slot. Make sure you're spreading out your cash stack across 8 items if possible, and just updating your prices on each item if an item is not moving. The reason you want to do this is because 1, it spreads out your risk. If one item does not go well, a good thing is you have 7 more items that can potentially go in your favor. Another thing on top of this as well is it's going to make you more profit per hour if you spread out your money, because you'll have more chances of buying items for cheap and to sell them for higher. The point of this video today is just to show you guys how to get into flipping, how to learn the basics so that you can start on your flipping journey. It's not necessarily profit driven at this point because I want to show you guys the easiest ways to start and the safest ways to get into flipping. But that being said, I'm going to flip a couple items over the next 30 minutes or so. We'll see how much we can make off flipping some of this high volume stuff, and I'll report back with how much we've made. We just finished flipping the amethyst arrows, which made us about 30k, which is a little bit lower than I would have liked for that item, but we'll take the profit. So I've gone ahead and done some basic high volume flipping for the past 30 minutes or so, but what I'm going to do now is cancel everything and we'll wrap up this video. I left the items for a couple of hours at the end of my session to sell off, and they ended up selling, so you shouldn't be afraid to do that if you are flipping a high volume item, which in this case, all of these items are considered high volume. Over the course of about 45 minutes, plus the time it took to sell offline, we were able to make a 457k profit over that time period. Now, I know this is a very low and basic amount of profit, but it's very easy to flip these high volume items, and it is the best way to start learning how to flip if you've never done it before. Once you start to understand the basics of flipping, you can move on to flipping gear-related items and lower volume items that will have a larger margin but will require more risk to be taken in order to get those profits. And don't worry, I'll have a future guide that shows you exactly how to do that. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this basic introductory video to flipping. If you guys did, definitely drop a like. It really does help me out a lot. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this, and I'll see you all in the next video.